In soccer, too often ego gets in the way of building caring and cohesive teams. One organization's mantra of leave your shoes at the door is a continuous reminder that humility, not ego, is what makes communities stronger, on and off the field. Hello all, I'm Tej, and welcome to Chezuba Talks. Today's episode features Soccer Without Borders, a game-changer nonprofit who strongly believe in the power of soccer, the world's universal language, to create positive change for individuals, families, communities, and the world. Soccer Without Borders has been recognized with awards by notable global leaders such as the Wharton Business School, FIFA, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the US Soccer Foundation. And to talk about the Herculean but incredible task of providing opportunity to underserved youth, we have Mary Connor, Executive Director and co-founder of Soccer Without Borders. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Pleasure to have you on our podcast. To introduce Mary, she comes to the field of sport-based youth development from a career in professional and collegiate soccer as both a player and a coach. Soccer Without Borders is an all-volunteer organization, and Mary established infrastructure in every department, growing the team from 0 to 100 staff, and the budget from under 25,000 to more than 4 million. Mary was selected for the prestigious Women Athletes Business Network Mentoring Program by Ernst & Young and represented Soccer Without Borders in its election to the Global Street Football World / Common Goal Network Board. She has been a featured speaker at a wide range of events and has served on award selection committees for FIFA, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the US Soccer Foundation, and the World Football Summit. Congratulations on all the commendable achievements and accolades.
Thank you. That makes me feel a little bit tired, everything you just read, but I appreciate it.
That's amazing. I actually looked up your website and this is what I found. 42 sites that run the program across 5 US states and 3 countries, 16 league seasons, 44 camps, and staff from 9 different countries speaking 16 different languages. How incredible is that?
Yeah, it feels every day feels like our own little microcosm of the world, and it becomes this amazing space and environment where you can explore topics like social inclusion, not just intellectually, but actually in practice every day. Like how do we build community and team among our staff, among our kids? So we're sort of practicing what we do every day, and it helps make us stronger. And I think it's really helped us to grow because
yes,
it's a place
absolutely.
People want to be, and we build teams that we would want to play on. So
that is wonderful, amazing. So tell us about your mission. Soccer Without Borders is collecting talent from various backgrounds, and you are promoting social change through it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think our North Star is social inclusion. How do we make sure that every kid, everywhere, every person feels valued and welcome and a sense of belonging? We have a particular focus on social inclusion of refugee and immigrant youth who have experienced displacement, which is one of the most pressing issues of our generation, of our time. Global displacement is now over 100 million people worldwide.
Yeah.
We also believe, and this is something close to my heart, that soccer is uniquely suited to advance gender equity, particularly for women and girls who have experienced exclusion or barriers to opportunities, disproportionately compared to boys and men. So it's something that we feel soccer is uniquely suited to address and contribute to these social issues. And they're big. They're global issues that require daily attention and person by person really demonstrating how we can shape our communities and our world to be more equitable and more inclusive.
Yeah, that seems to be a Herculean task at the moment, looking at the way people from all sorts of backgrounds are coming in. And how do you manage? How do you first, I would say, let's start with how do you identify that this community needs help, and how do you get the students from there?
Yeah, all of our programming has started with somebody from a community identifying that need themselves. If that's a school leader, if that is a community leader, if that's a soccer team that wants to sort of go beyond themselves and support others or grow their impact. So that's the first thing, is that it starts from the community itself. And then I think the way that we make it more available to kids, and the way they find out about it, is joy is infectious. Welcoming is infectious. Something that like you want to make it like a magnet that kids want to be a part of. They want to invite their friends. They want to, be a part of that program that people are talking about after school. So word of mouth and literally families telling other families has been our best way to spread the word within a community. And then we've also learned that, schools talk to each other, communities talk to each other, people like you found us online. People have been really, I think, drawn to a mission that's about something positive. It's not what we're putting out there is not we're anti this and we're against this. It's really, we can do better. We can create something positive that people want to be a part of, and build a culture. You named one of our mantras, leave your shoes at the door, build a culture that really resonates with the best of humanity and our shared humanity. And that's something for me as a lifelong soccer player that I always felt on the field. All the ways that I felt excluded or outside or self-conscious, and I'm sure my teammates did too, when we were playing together on a team with a coach that cared about us, all that goes away. You're just people out there enjoying each other, working towards a shared goal. And so that's the power of soccer and sport more broadly. One of my favorite quotes that has always stuck with me is sport is the most important thing that doesn't matter. Because it's a good one. Ultimately doesn't matter, right? Like if you miss a penalty kick in that game, it's okay. It's not a world-changing event, and yet it evokes real feelings. You have to find real resilience to that moment of failure. You have to focus in a way, when the pressure's on the line and your team is relying on you, like those are real emotions, which means they're real lessons that kids are learning. And in an environment, if you can create an environment where that's positive, that's supported, mistakes are welcomed as learning opportunities, that's the most powerful youth development tool we could possibly have, because it's real. You're not talking about learning resilience or learning leadership skills. You're practicing, or why communication and cooperation are important. You're actually doing it. And when you can do that in an environment that is diverse, with diverse perspectives, races, ethnicities, languages, now you're building, I think, 21st century skills to work with people who are different than you in so many ways. Find what you have in common, find a way to work together, find a way to learn from each other. This is our world. Our world is globalizing. People are, people need to learn to work together, and we get to do that every day.
That is incredible. When you talk about an idea like this, what brought you to this idea? How did you begin this service?
For me, it started with what is probably a naive realization. I grew up as a women's soccer player in the United States at a time when women before me really created a lot of pathways that I benefited from. Like I got to play soccer at my university because that existed, that was funded, that we had a full-time head coach. 30 years before me, that didn't exist. And so for me, I came to this sort of understanding that it takes concrete action by people to make sure that opportunities are equitable, that those that have sort of been on the sidelines or been on the margins, that doesn't just happen by accident. Like it takes intentionality to break those barriers and to create new opportunities. And I think for me, it started with, as a coach and as a player, getting to go to different parts of the world and see how many barriers are stacked up against girls. That if I had been born in a different place in a different time, I couldn't have been me. I couldn't have had this pathway. And so that was my starting point, was sort of paying it forward for girls everywhere. Not that every girl wants to play soccer or wants to be a professional soccer player. That I just hope that they have the opportunity to imagine their future, their own dream, and that somebody, society encourages that and allows them the equal opportunity to reach those goals, gain an education, have a career if they want. And so I say it was naive because I think when you're in it as a kid, you think stuff just happens. Like this team just exists for me. And then I think it was a real awakening when, I was playing professionally and the league I was playing with went bankrupt and suddenly there was no women's league. And I don't think I'd ever been a part of something where it was like taken away, where like, I don't know, you assume opportunities build on each other and society's growing and building and becoming more inclusive and more equitable. And then I was a part of this kind of massive failure of a women's professional league in the United States. And it just, sometimes you look back and can connect the dots, but there's just these moments where you start to understand that society's distribution of opportunities and resource is not always just and fair. And then once you realize that, you can't unsee it. And for me, it was like, it became just a fire to go out and do something about it and use the platform I have to do something about it. And since then, I've learned so much from so many people about different types of exclusion and injustice, and some of which I may never directly experience, but I can learn about through others. And Soccer Without Borders is one way that I've had a lot of opportunity and influence to create an environment that's different, that sort of is the change we want to see in the world. And every day we try to make that stronger. It's imperfect, but every day we're trying to be an organization that doesn't just talk about, shows kind of the world as it could be through soccer. So that's what gets me up every morning to do this. But it started really with a personal realization on my part that so many women came before me, and what was I going to do to move the needle forward?
That's amazing. That the very fact that you thought about other women apart from your situation, that itself is just incredible. And was there somebody to mentor you? Was there somebody to help you, support you in this entire thing? Or was it a lone fight in the beginning?
Well, the founder of Soccer Without Borders, Ben Gucciardi, he and I have been partnered in this work for 15 years. And I think having a partner is so important, because there are moments that if you're doing this alone, you feel it can't be done. And as you said, we started as an all volunteer organization, few resources. My family thought I was crazy when I said I was going to quit my paying job to pursue this thing. And how can you do that? So you really do need not just a partner, but a community around you. And yes. I was really fortunate. One of the best parts of soccer is community, is your teammates. To this day, my teammates from my college soccer team are some of my biggest supporters and confidants, and they support Soccer Without Borders, not just not just in a, fire us up way, but also in the hard moments where, I come to them and say, this is a challenge. I don't know how to solve it. We are an organization, but we're also a business. Like, we're trying to build an organization that supports people's livelihoods, that has fair paying jobs in 3 different countries. There's challenges with that. And as a leader, you need to have a supportive community and someone to talk to kind of work through some of those.
Telling you that you're doing the right thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
trying to do the right thing. And learning from, what many of them are entrepreneurs or founders or, operations leaders. So also just soaking in knowledge. As young nonprofits, you don't have the resources to have, a head of operations, a head of finance, a head of marketing. You don't have those things. So I had to be those things for a long time. And having friends and supporters and mentors who are experts in those things and are willing to pick up my phone call or let me knock on their door and say, hey, tell me everything you know about, emailing online. Like, how do I build a website? Like, what? So that was, it takes a lot of humility to do, to ask for help. And I think it takes a lot of generosity for the person on the other side when, life is busy to make space for their friend, to try to help me solve those things.
To just be there.
Yeah.
Sometimes just being there also helps.
Yeah.
Let's take a break to understand what Chezuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state-of-the-art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chezuba began with this very vision. A vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chezuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chezuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chezuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest.
Different perspectives. You need different leadership perspectives. I still turn to my college soccer coach, Erica Walsh-Dombach, and another very good coaching friend, Ann Cook, have been mentors of mine and friends of mine and supporters throughout. I just saw them this week, and found myself again. Hey, here's my latest challenge. Like, can you talk through this with me? Yeah. So you need that, and you need a space for it, not just within your organization, but outside of it.
But outside as well. Yeah, right. So just telling about Chezuba, right now we are an online volunteering platform. So you can have volunteers online to help with your website and anything else that you would need that can be done digitally online. So that's one little bit of news for you. Talking about this empowering generations, I'm sure you are empowering a lot of generations in terms of, so what is the age group, and is there any particular story that you remember has really, really made a difference in the student's life?
Yeah, we serve primarily kids who are like 10 to 19. That's the biggest age group, but we also have programs for 5 to 10-year-olds that are sort of, we call it lower touch, like fewer days a week. So really school age children from kindergarten up until the end of high school. And those programs look different in different age groups. Kids have different competing things they're a part of. Older kids often have to work. Younger kids need a way to be transported to and from the field safely. So there's different ways that the program is shaped for different age groups. Some of the things at an aggregate level that we're most proud of is our graduation rates, having a support system like a team that also is a program that prioritizes not just your development as a soccer player, but as a student, and trying to support kids that are in our programs to address areas they might be struggling in school, or if they are a newcomer, they might not know the native language of the country that they are in school in. So for a lot of our kids in the United States who are refugees, immigrants, they're learning English. So our program supports them to learn English so they can, fully
understand
school and graduate. So we're very proud of our graduation rate. We've maintained almost a 95% graduation rate, which is almost 30% higher than what is typical in the United States for English language learners. We're also really proud of our retention rate. Sometimes programs are sort of targeting a specific year, 8th grade, or we are really trying to be a part of a young person's life through adolescence. And that means being flexible and adaptable. And we're proud that more than 70% of kids return to us year after year. Some of our programs, you mentioned we have 42 program sites. Some of them have over 90% retention, where kids just, they're coming back. When you think about sort of the aggregate inputs, it's like the program model, the retention, the environment, the culture, the fact that they see themselves in their coaches. We have over a quarter of our coaches are alums of the program. They graduated from the program. That's especially true in Nicaragua and Uganda, where kids who I met on a soccer field in Nicaragua in 2008 are now, head coaches, and they're paying it forward for girls in their communities. And they've graduated high school, they're enrolled in college, and they're choosing to own their platform as a role model for younger girls. So those are the people that come to mind most when I think of individual people. I think about women like Ashley and Michelle, who I met in Nicaragua when they were 8 years old, taught them soccer for the first time, and over the course of their adolescence, their lifetime, watch them come into their leadership. And I think from the outside, the expectations of outcomes for a youth development program is that they're linear. It's like a kid comes in and it's supposed to go like this until they're, they have a job and a career and everything's great. But I've found it's actually a lot more like this, that adolescence has ups and downs, and
most difficult, yes.
Yeah. And there's going to be moments where someone makes a bad decision or there's a hard time in their life. There's a divorce, there's a death, there's very real things that happen. COVID just happened to everybody. And how you respond to those down moments, and how our program responds, and not saying like, hey, this year your failing grades are a bad outcome for us. Like that's not how we respond. I think if you really want to be a youth development program, you got to be there for the highs and lows, and not focus so much on, these snapshots of particular moments. It's a long game. And if we can make the lows just a little bit less low, and we can make the highs a little more high, that's success. And we see it in so many kids, many of whom now work with us, many of whom are now, off in their careers. I would say in the last few years, one of the things I'm most proud of as an organization is how we did respond to COVID, because as schools shut down, as communities shut down, as kids' worlds became smaller, like as a teenager, having your entire world, your access to your friends is suddenly gone, and you're in school online. They needed their community more than ever. And we never missed a beat. From like the day the schools closed, the next day we were calling kids, dropping off soccer balls, dropping off computers, dropping off food. What do you need? And I think it really taught me how much coaches are first responders to kids' social and emotional needs, because we are often the first person that kids will call when they're struggling with something. And research backs that up. It's your family, your coach, your teacher. These are the most important adults in kids' lives. And that's a responsibility that I really am proud of, the way our coaches owned that responsibility and stepped up at a time when kids really needed it most.
Yeah, that's amazing. Talking of when so many kids coming in, you do serve the underserved population. How are you funded?
We are funded. We have sort of diverse funding streams, many of which are local. So when we have a program that is based, let's say, in the Bay Area, California, many of our primary funders are right there in that local region. So we are trying to be an organization that is both local and global, where by being a global organization, we're not losing the sense of place and embeddedness in the communities we serve. So school districts are a primary funder, government through the Department of Education in the communities where we are. Local foundations are primary funders that have a mission to support young people in their immediate community. Mm-hmm. We are very fortunate to have in Capelli Sport a uniform and apparel sponsor, so we're able to get the gear that we need to run our teams for free.
That's great.
And that's a huge asset to sort of piece these things together. And then we do rely on, beyond what we're able to secure in government and foundation and corporate gifts, we rely on individual giving for about 20% of our funding. And that's essential, because often that's the funding that is a little more flexible, whereas government funding is it's very precise. You have to sort of predict a year in advance exactly how much you're going to spend on, snacks 6 months from now. And so there's not much room for error, and there's not, it can't be as responsive to things like inflation or things, costs changing, gas suddenly doubling in price, and we provide transportation to all the kids. So individual funding is so essential because it allows us to respond.
That much, yeah.
We could not have responded to COVID the way that we did and adapt our entire funding model if we didn't have people stepping up for us and really giving us the funding to be flexible and say, hey, here's what we need to do now. We had to stand up a whole virtual curriculum. That costs time and money and skill.
Indeed.
Maybe I wish I had known you all, because you could have helped us with that digitally.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a combination of institutional funders, government funders, and individuals that support us.
That's great. Thanks to I'm using this platform to thank all those people who have helped Soccer Without Borders. Have you found any exceptional talent in all these years, which you think has the potential to go on to the next level of soccer?
That's definitely not our primary goal, but when you have people that love the game in this way, they do emerge. One of our Oakland players, he was a young man resettled from Eritrea. He went on to play in the United Soccer League with the Oakland Roots. 10 of our kids in Nicaragua were named to the Nicaraguan women's youth national team, under 15, under 17, and under 20. We've had representatives.
That's awesome.
That is in part because of they play all the time. And it's in part a reflection of how few girls have opportunities to play soccer in Nicaragua at all. When we started the program, to my knowledge, we were the only girls sport program in the country outside for soccer outside of the capital.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're building something new, there's, you're forging a new path. And a lot of the girls had that incredible opportunity to represent their country. So yeah, there's been some fun examples of that, but I can tell you it's even more wonderful when you see kids that are going on to, get the job that they want, or just, succeeding off the field. And that's definitely a primary goal of ours.
Goal, yeah. And I'm sure you have a lot of satisfied souls out there doing, happy doing what they are. Just this question, curious to know, do you have students who come from the underserved community who are do you see the dedication levels to be more in these students as compared to the regular students?
We try not to compare. I would just say that the students that we see are the most resilient, empathetic, open kids that I've ever met. And when you think about what we value as a society, and you say, we value in the United States, SAT scores, or, the ability to write a great essay, or whatever it is.
Yes.
And then you meet kids that have, overcome losing their home and walking thousands of miles to find safety. And, they've been through so much change as a kid. That kind of like resilience and that kind of wisdom of about the world. I wish we would value that more. I wish there was a way to sort of like lift that up to show that those, just to value those lived experiences on par with, hard skills that are measurable, that you can test. So I just, so many of the kids I meet, you don't want to compare because you don't want to compare people's hardships. You're not trying to say, well, this, you achieved this and it was harder than this person. That's not what we're about. But I can tell you that the kids in Soccer Without Borders that we meet are just making the world better. They're making me better. They're making our community stronger. And I wish people
filled with gratitude
could
also
sort of see the potential in all kids, no matter their circumstance.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes, you're filled with gratitude for being able to provide a platform or giving them exposure as well. So I think you're doing a great job. What are your future plans?
So we have been doing these programs in the communities where we sort of have a footprint for more than 15 years now. And along the way, we get constant requests. Can you open a program in this new city? Can you come to this new school? And for a lot of years, it was like, we don't have the resources to do that. And so now our new kind of frontier is, how can we take what we've learned from operating programs directly on the ground in these different contexts, in multiple countries, multiple continents, and package that in a way that others could take it and add value to what they're doing. There's so many great organizations and people using sport for social good. Can we add value to that? Can we offer a tool or an idea or a program model that could help them strengthen their program and maybe accelerate their progress? What took us 10 years to figure out, maybe we could help them figure it out in 2. So we have this new sort of part of Soccer Without Borders called Soccer Without Borders Assist, which, if you read our mantras, one of them is celebrate the path more than the goal. So we are looking to give assist to other organizations, work in collaboration to accelerate progress within our sector towards gender equity, social inclusion. So we'll see. It's a new venture that we're trying to share what we've learned while also still doing what we do. We're not giving up our programs. We're there for these communities where we work and live, and that's a part of our fabric. So we're just seeing how we could, better contribute beyond ourselves to other organizations, other communities, where we don't have cleats on the ground.
Yeah. Mary, you're doing amazing work. I wish you all the very best with your future plans. And I'm sure with these podcasts, we have a number of podcasts, and I've talked with a number of nonprofits also working in the field of sport to give exposure to undeserved students. So I'm sure in that community, you will find your people to help and lift up. That would be amazing.
Well, thank you so much for providing this opportunity to share our story a little bit and reaching so many people. And thanks for shining a spotlight on the work of different nonprofits. It's amazing what you're doing to really elevate this work and share positive stories of ways that people can take action, and we can, work together to try to make the world more inclusive.
Absolutely. And so privileged and honored to meet people like you through this podcast. I'm very, very happy. And absolutely wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
That was Mary Connor, the Executive Director of Soccer Without Borders, and they are doing great work. Look them up on their Insta handles and Facebook page as well. And I will see you all again in the next episode, meeting yet another inspiring personality. Till then, goodbye.